Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I will let everyone just take a couple seconds, minutes to get situated. Happy to see so many of you here today. My name is Laura, and I'm with TNN, and I have Tasha with me here today. So before we get started, what I always like to do is just ask everyone to pull up that chat box. And then if you can just jot down where you're calling in from, it's just always happy and fun for us to see where everyone is from around the world. So my name is Laura. I have been hosting these with TNN for, oh gosh, probably since the inception of TNN. So it's been fun to be here for a while. I'm at Travel 80 by 80. I'm a travel advisor, travel blogger, and I'm from San Diego. So super excited to be here with all of you today. So before we get started, I am going to quickly share my screen and just talk with you a little bit about the Nomadic Network. So welcome. So about TNN, it's a community of travelers inspiring others to see the world. As all of you probably know, it was founded by Nomadic Matt, and now it is owned by Lisa Field. We host over 250 virtual events. Obviously, you know where to find us. And Lisa actually right now is traveling the world on our first events of the year, which has been really fun. So definitely check that out if you're more interested in learning about our community tours that are happening in the fall. Those would be the next ones, and then in 2026. If you haven't already, definitely join us on all of our social channels. You can find us on Instagram, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can register for our virtual events, obviously, as you've done here, and then travel with us on our community tours. And then just a couple reminders. So yes, I see some of you on video. Thank you. It's always fun to see familiar and smiling faces when we're going through this, which is great. But if you're not comfortable doing that, that's fine too. I keep everyone muted for the duration of the chat, just so we can make sure we can clearly hear our presenter. But definitely, I know everyone knows how to use that chat box. So that's a great place for you to ask your questions and just connect with everyone. And then I just ask, if you do have a question for Tasha, if you can just write the word question, and then I will make sure I grab that and we get it asked after the end of the call or the end of her talk. And then definitely follow our speakers, support them. They do this out of the kindness of their hearts. And I'll drop all of her information on how you can follow her on all of her different social channels. And let's just learn and have fun and enjoy this day, because I know this is a timely topic for so many people. So before I turn it over to Tasha, I just wanted to quickly introduce her. So she has been a solo female traveler and digital nomad for over 5 years, while building a thriving six-figure business, which is just incredible. She's a digital nomad creator, a travel writer, and an outdoor adventure junkie. As the founder of Duraka Strategic, she helps service-based entrepreneurs attract premium clients through better marketing and messaging. And then through Duraka Travels, she empowers multicultural women to live their best nomadic lives. And then her writing so far has been featured in National Geographic, Travel and Leisure, and Insider. So excited to have you here, Tasha, and I'll let you take it over from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. It's so awesome to be here with the nomadic community again. Like you said, I've presented here once before, but it's a while ago. So really excited to be back with everybody and love seeing where everybody is joining from. I'm from Washington, D.C. I saw we have some D.C. people here. I feel like I see some familiar names in the chat. So let me know if we've ever met before. And let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Okay. And I was just telling Laura, I'm like, I hate the way Canva and Zoom interact. So I'll do my best. Bear with me, guys. But really excited to be with you all today. We are going to use the chat a bunch. So let me just bring that up, and then we can hopefully just chat and stuff at the end. But my first question for you, and let me know in the chat, is give me an A in the chat if you are currently a digital nomad. Give me a 1. Give me a 2 in the chat if you're definitely going to become a digital nomad, like 100% it's happening. And give me a 3 if you're somewhere in the middle, you're like casually thinking about it, you're dabbling, you're like, maybe I'll try it. I'm not so sure. I'm just here to gather some info. Okay, I see Heather's a 1. She's a digital nomad. What up, Heather? We got a lot of 3s, so some casual curiosity here. Jennifer's a 2. She's going to be a digital nomad. Dana. Carla, awesome. Let me know for those of you who are definitely going to become a digital nomad, like, do you have a date by which you're planning to become a digital nomad, or like a time, or like when are you thinking you're going to do it? Or you're more like, it's like somewhere in the future, like maybe it's going to happen. Okay, cool. And let me know, is working and traveling on your 2025 vision board? Give me a yes or a no. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of yeses. Dana said, I had a date, but I've been sick. Oh no, within the next month or two. Okay. Katrina, yes. Okay. Sweet. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Well, then this presentation is going to be really helpful for all of you guys. Okay. Let me know in the chat as well, what are your biggest questions right now about being or becoming a digital nomad? And don't worry, I have a lot of info to share with you guys, but I want to know what your biggest questions are, and I'll do my best to like tailor this for everybody. Where should I get health insurance? Good question. I will address that. How to make money? Good question. Any other questions we have? I know it takes a minute to type as well. Finding remote work. Good question. Any others? All right. Oh, best locations you would recommend. Great question. Yeah. Easiest places to live abroad. How do you build a business and see the world in the process? Okay. These are fantastic questions. Okay. Let's also, Laura, let's make sure to save these at the end for me, please, in case I miss any of them and we can come back to them. Foreign tax laws around length of stays. Jim, wait, is that the Jim that I know, or is this a new Jim? Hi, Jim. I do know a Jim who's a CPA, by the way. So I wonder if that's you or maybe not. Anyway, okay. Let's get started, y'all. So maybe you're here today because you want to travel the world without sacrificing your career. And let me know in the chat if any of these resonate with you and which ones resonate the most. To enjoy life to the fullest now while you're relatively young and able-bodied, that was a big one for me. To travel while working, so you're earning while spending and feel like a productive member of society. That was also me. You don't want to take a career break to travel, and you want to continue building wealth while having epic adventures. So let me know in the chat if any of these reasons resonate with you, or why you're thinking about becoming a digital nomad, or why you've chosen to be a digital nomad. Let me know what is the most important thing about it for you. To enjoy life to the fullest now and build wealth while having epic adventures. Yes, that's me too, right? Like, why not? Okay. So being a digital nomad is easier than ever, y'all. There are 35 million plus digital nomads in the world right now. And being a digital nomad, this is really important, we're going to talk about this, is a lifestyle, not a job, right? So this is the misconception I think Instagram has somehow perpetuated, that it's like people are a digital nomad, but they're not working. No, if you're a digital nomad, that's literally the definition of it. You are working and traveling at the same time. So that means you need to be making an income. That was one of your guys' questions, right? So you need to know how you're going to make money, right? You need to have a plan for this. So like you guys said, you either need a remote or a location independent job, or you need to become a freelancer and start your own business. Those are basically your two options. If you're looking at getting a job in a different country and moving for that job, that's a different thing. We call that sort of more being an immigrant, being an expat, moving abroad. If you're planning to move around and work online and move to different countries, that's basically what we call being a digital nomad. So let me know in the chat, which of you, do you guys have a remote or location independent job now? Are you looking to get a remote or location independent job? Are you looking to become a freelancer and start your own business? Let me know. Also, good tip. I mean, good tip for life in general, but definitely if you are starting your own business, 100%. And definitely if you're starting something new like this, have a healthy fund of savings. That is like a really big tip I have for you. Okay, so we have, Laura has a remote job. Dana said currently looking for remote jobs. Katrina said looking, considering entrepreneurship. Let me know, Katrina, what kind of entrepreneurship you're considering. Kristen said, looking for a remote job. Mine is mostly remote, but can't travel while working. Yeah. Okay, so that's tricky. Jennifer said, I will be applying for remote academy advising jobs at online schools, but the problem is that they want you to live somewhere in the United States, and I want to know how to get around that. Get a VPN so they don't know where I am. Freelancer with ongoing contracts. Nice, Heather. Currently an independent contractor with a flexible contract, could become more location independent. Awesome. So yeah, some complex questions in here. Jennifer, your question about how do I fool them with a VPN? Personally, that's not something I do have friends who, do different things with routers and VPNs and whatnot. Um, I would say be prepared to lose your job, read your contract. I never want to lie to somebody about where I am and what I'm doing, but everybody has a different appetite level for risk, right? If you're looking to become a freelancer or start your own business, check out Duraka Strategic. That is my business coaching business. And I teach people how to build successful and thriving businesses as freelancers and entrepreneurs. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story, which is very intertwined. Like my business story and my nomad story are like the same story. I became a digital nomad before COVID. So it was before remote work was really a thing. I used to work at a top 3 global advertising agency. I was in DC. For my DC people, let me know where you're at. And I had a really good life there. I was making good money. I had a lot of friends. I had a boyfriend. But I was like, is this it? Is this all there is to life? And I was like, I just had this itch. I heard about the concept of being a digital nomad. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Because I had backpacked before, I'd traveled before. And I was like, I want to work while I'm traveling. Like, I want to feel like a productive member of society. But both of my parents were self-employed and that did not look fun. So I really did not want to start my own business, but I knew there was no way my company would let me go remote. So I was like, I think the only way to do this is to start my own business. And even though I did marketing for like my career, it was really hard to figure out how to market my own new business. I got a one-way ticket to Bali. This is back in 2019. And I had this plan. I was going to drive my scooter all over the island and do, marketing workshops at all the different colos. Bali at the time was like the digital nomad capital of the world. So I was going to do these free marketing workshops. And of course, everybody was going to sign up to work with me. It did not work that way, which is why it's so important to have a lot of savings. And I was spending those savings and I was quickly like, okay, I need to pivot. I need to figure out how to get actual clients who will pay me actual money. Luckily, I was able to do that pretty quickly, and I was ultimately able to replace my corporate salary within 4 months. Here's an article I wrote about it for Business Insider. I then spent the pandemic in Vietnam. Here's another article about that. I spent a whole year in Vietnam during the pandemic, which was amazing, actually. So things were working out with my business, but I had told myself when I started, it literally for me, it started out as an experiment. I was like, maybe I'll do this for 1 to 2 years, then I'll go back to DC and get a real job. I really did not think I wanted to have my own business. I really didn't see myself being a digital nomad long term. Like I thought this was just a phase, fun little experiment, like get it out of my system. If I couldn't make the business work, I was just going to spend my savings and like travel for 1 or 2 years. That is not what happened. So here's my business, Duraka Strategic. Duraka, by the way, is Puerto Rican for tough cookie. That was my nickname growing up. And I do business branding and marketing strategy consulting and business coaching for freelancers and entrepreneurs. That started going really well and really successfully. And as I started sort of just sharing about my life online with friends on Instagram, and I had always shared about my travels, like I had always had a blog during Peace Corps, just as a way to keep in touch with people. And then I was like, you know what, it's so much work to have a blog, like, and no one is paying me any money. I was like, I'm only going to do travel writing that I'm going to get paid for. So I started doing that. Here's this awesome article I wrote for National Geographic, like career highlight. And then I was like, dude, doing travel writing, you don't get paid that much money and you have no editorial control over what you're talking about. I was like, and I'm getting all these questions as I'm sharing this content on my Instagram. I was like, okay, I'm going to create my own website, my own place where I can share my opinion and share all the things that I was researching when I was sitting in my little dingy basement apartment in Parkview, by the way, for those of you who know DC well. I had this little basement, 1 bedroom, like in Parkview, and it was so dark. There was no natural light. And I was like planning out. By the way, here's what happened. Here's the real story. I was working at my job and I really wanted to be a digital nomad and I was ready to quit. And then they gave me a promotion and a raise. And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the next year planning my exit. And so I literally had a spreadsheet. I had it all mapped out. I was like, here's when I'm going to quit. Here's when I'm going to break my lease. Here's when I'm going to sell all my furniture. Here's when I'm going to order pants. Like I had it all mapped out, you guys. So for those of you who are thinking about becoming a digital nomad, I definitely recommend pick an end date and like map out all the things you need to do from there. I actually have a digital nomad checklist on my website that like maps it out by month, by week. So at the end, remind me and I will share that with you guys. So here I am now. It's been more than 5 years. Spoiler alert. I'm still a digital nomad. I've been traveling that entire time. I still am my own boss. I love having my own business. It's like once I've experienced this freedom, I don't want to go back. So I had a little chat with myself a couple years ago and I was like, okay, I still really love this. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'll share with you guys later. And the reason why is just, I really think you get so much more out of life. Like, I tried applying my digital nomad mindset to my life in DC. Like, I really tried. Like, I went to all these random events, I met random strangers, and it just was not the same. Like, I just love who I am when I'm traveling. It's a great work-life balance solution for me because if you're from DC, it's very type A, very workaholic, and I worked so hard and none of that work was coming back to me. Like none of that effort. It was all going to like shareholders. And so I love having my own business. I love being able to and being in a cool place. Like literally right after this, I'm going to go to a braai, like a South African barbecue and like have fun, because it's like there's an infinite amount of work to do, but we're young. Let's go enjoy the world. So I can share this highlights post if you guys want, but I literally went through each of the months in 2024 and I was like, here's all my favorite things from that month. And it is crazy. It's like I am having so many once in a lifetime experiences every month. And I love it. Okay, so now we're getting more into the logistics. You've heard a little bit about my story. You know why I'm here. And by the way, I am not an advocate that everyone should be a digital nomad. Like everyone should do what is best for them. And there's also a million ways to be a digital nomad. Like you don't have to travel full time all the time like me. Like some people they'll go for the winter or like they'll have a few bases around the world or they'll move somewhere for a really long time. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it and you got to find the way that works for you. Whew, okay. I'm now going to get into some of the nuts and the bolts. So hopefully, let me just check the time. Let me know, you guys, if I'm running over or whatever. So first question, you probably live somewhere right now and you probably have a lot of stuff. So you got to figure out what you're going to do with all that stuff. For some people, they might be lucky. They might be able to, if you own your property, you could rent out your place. You can get someone to manage it. You can sell it. You can sell your stuff. You can hopefully store it at your mom's, at a friend's, in storage. Make sure you're accounting for those costs, right? Like build in that storage cost into your budget. Same thing if you have a car, you got to figure out what to do with the car. Are you going to sell it? Are you going to lend it to a friend? What are you going to do with it? So really take inventory of all your assets and figure out what is your plan for them. Handle your stuff before you leave. As you can tell from the fact that I had a spreadsheet going for like a year planning my exit, I'm a big believer in planning it out and like having a plan for stuff. There's other approaches. I've met plenty of nomads who just, had something happen, quit their job, bought a one-way ticket to Bali with no plan, right? And that's fine if that's your approach. I think it's nice when you have a plan because there's a lot of stuff that if you think about it beforehand, it is going to save you thousands of dollars and tons of headaches. So that's why I'm an advocate for that. Financial stuff, I have a whole page on my website about this, but make sure you have the right financial products. You need credit cards and debit accounts that don't charge a foreign transaction fee. I have an ATM card that refunds all my ATM withdrawal charges around the world, right? Like when you're in another country, the ATM will charge you money to take out money. This one refunds it. Have a plan for taxes. If you don't know this, a fun fact, if you're outside of the US for 330 days of the year, you can take what's called the foreign earned income exclusion and not pay taxes on, I think, like the first 120K of your income. I have an accountant to do my taxes because I have two businesses and I'm a digital nomad and that is complicated and I don't want to learn about it. So I have an accountant. If you guys want, message me on Instagram after and I can share their name with you if anybody is looking for that. But I strongly recommend thinking about this stuff beforehand and like having a plan. You'll also find on my website, I have like a whole financial page. So other things to think about, like you're going to be meeting people from all over the world. You're going to need to transfer money to them. There's different products and institutions like Wise, like Revolut that let you do that more easily. because non-Americans don't have Venmo and PayPal will charge them a transaction fee. Health stuff, very important. So make sure you have your immunizations up to date. Try to think about what countries do I want to go to, and go to a travel clinic and make sure you get all the vaccines that you need. Make sure you get the right medication that you need. You know, a big thing to think about if you're going to certain countries is going to be malaria and dengue, yellow fever. Make sure you have yellow fever. Make sure all your stuff is up to date. Tetanus, typhoid, like all that stuff. There used to be an amazing travel clinic in DC that closed down, and I'm so sad about it. But they were incredible. So I need a new travel clinic if anybody knows one. But make sure you get this stuff taken care of. Some countries won't even let you in if you don't have your yellow fever vaccination card. So always make sure. What I do when I'm going to a new country, I always go to the US State Department website and I check what the entry, exit, and visa requirements are for that country. Very important. Also, I have this later, but you should and can register at the State Department with something called STEP program, STEP. And that is just if there's some kind of emergency in the country, like, you know, a coup, a natural disaster, the US government knows you're there and they'll hopefully, you know, send some helicopters for you. But, and another great thing about it is then it will send you news alerts for anything important that is happening in the country. And not a ton of news alerts. Like it'll send you the important emergency news alerts, like, oh my gosh, like don't take this road to the airport because there's a strike, you know? Get travel health insurance. I know somebody asked for this. When we're done with the content, I will find my link and I have a whole review for travel insurance. And I will tell you the one that I recommend and the one that I've been using. Which is actually very affordable. And I actually don't have US health insurance anymore because it's so expensive and I'm never in the US. So I just have travel insurance now, travel medical insurance. So make sure your passport, you have at least, you know, as many pages. Get a new passport now. Just get a new passport, the expanded version, the big one, get it now. Check for any visas you're gonna need, you know, get an international driver's license. It is so cheap and easy to do. Unfortunately, they only last for 1 year. You can literally do it at AAA. I don't even think you need to be a member. Your phone, this is a big one. So if you don't know about this, basically, what I do is, so basically you want to have data while you're abroad, and also you want to keep your phone number for two-factor authentication, if nothing else. The way I did this is I had Google Fi, which is quite affordable and works most places. They will cut you off after about 3 or 4 months if you're abroad all the time. And the same is true with many other of these phone companies that have international coverage, because globally we're just not, I think, legally set up for that. So once Google Fi cut me off, I switched back to throttled it back to the lowest account to maintain my US phone number. And then I use an eSIM. So I also have a recommendation for that I have on my website. So anytime I go to a new country, I get an eSIM before I go to that country. So I have data for when I land. It just makes life so much easier. Sometimes, some places, it is really nice to have a physical SIM card, like in Kenya. I really needed a physical SIM card to hotspot because the Wi-Fi was horrible, but mobile data was amazing. So make sure you're doing your research before you go to a country, and make sure you have the right thing that you need to secure your data. Let's see, address. You're gonna need a permanent address. I am very lucky that I can use my mom's address for everything important that I need. If you don't have an option like that, a friend or someone you can use, there are services you can pay for to do that. Also, plan to have your stuff stolen. Like, knock on wood, my stuff hasn't been stolen yet, but back up all your important stuff. I have in my Google Drive, I have a folder of important documents. I have copies of my passport, all my credit cards, my driver's license, my insurance, all the important stuff that you could need, or anything important, back it up. Okay. Let's see. So basically on my website, on Dudaka Travels, all this stuff about how to become a digital nomad. I want to in a sec just show you some of the stuff is on there because I address all these questions in a lot of depth. Definitely go on there, get my digital nomad checklist. It literally breaks down. I'm like, okay, 6 months from when you're going to leave. Here's what you got to do. 5 months out, here's what you should do. The week before, here's what you should do. Don't forget to throw a goodbye party with all your friends, you know? So that is super helpful. You can get that on my website. Packing. You guys haven't mentioned in the chat packing. I don't know about for you guys. For me, this was a huge, I was so concerned about packing before I left. I have my whole packing list actually on my website now. My biggest tips for you are, remember, you are not going to become another person when you are traveling. You're still going to be the same person. So you still want the clothes that you want to wear all the time that make you feel cute. Like you want to pack for the activities you love to do and that you know you're going to do. So if you love to hike, make sure you pack stuff for hiking. Make sure you pack stuff for hanging out in the house. I think a lot of times we forget about that when we're packing, but like most of the time, a lot of the time, I'm wearing the same thing over and over again. So make sure you have a lot of that same thing and think about what is the big limiting factor. For me, it's workout clothes and like underwear and socks. So I have a lot of workout clothes and underwear and socks so that I don't have to do laundry all the time. A few big packing debates in the digital nomad community are like minimalism versus do you have a checked bag? I have a checked bag. I am happy about it. I have my coat in there. I have my hiking stuff in there. Like I need that stuff. So what that means is that on travel days, like I might take a taxi from the airport if that's an option because I have a lot of stuff and it's heavy. I don't love to move around as much. I like to go a little bit slower, which is cheaper and you get to see more of the country. You get to understand the culture better. Also, people are really obsessed about packing cubes. Personally, I'm not into them. I can pack way better, more efficiently without them, but you will find some evangelists on the internet for packing cubes. Where to work and stay? Somebody asked this. Okay, so I have a list actually of all of my favorite co-lives, nomad communities on my website. I think a big question people have when they're thinking about nomading is or solo travel in general, am I going to be lonely? For me, the answer is pretty much no. I find that when you're solo traveling, it is so easy to make friends. I do think over time, first of all, I work hard to maintain good connections with all my friends and family back home. I love those people. It's so important to me. You need community. You need people who have known you. And then it's also so important to build community where you are. And I think it's really easy to make new friends as a nomad and get really be your true authentic self. Like you have no reason to hide. But it can be challenging to build real deep connections and keep them going over the long term. So that's why one of the reasons I love staying at co-lives, I have like a list of all of my favorite co-lives that like all only ones I've stayed at and like discount codes for those. I'm a member of Wi-Fi Tribe. I love Wi-Fi Tribe. You'll find the full review for all of those and like my links for those, my referral codes on my website. Big fan. How much does it cost to be a nomad? I even have on my Instagram, and if you guys want, I'll look this post up for you in particular, but I actually tracked every single penny I spent on lodging in 2024. And I broke it down by like, okay, here's how much I spent in this place, and here's what this place was like, and here is the average. And for me, it is not more expensive than living in DC, which obviously DC is expensive. And for some places, people in cities with lower costs of living, but also like I live a little bit of a bougier lifestyle. Like you could definitely live as a nomad a lot more affordably than I do. So a few things to think about there. Okay, some more pro tips. Think about in advance, what do you need to be happy and productive and plan for how you're going to get those things. For me, a big thing is working out is so important for me. So like when I'm booking a place, I try to check like where is the gym? Like what am I going to do for working out? I actually bring a travel yoga mat with me because I want to have that as an option if there's nothing nearby. For me, traveling slower is easier and more affordable. I like it more. I like to change places like once a month is like at least a month is ideal. More is ideal, like 3 months is ideal. But then it's like there's just so many places to see. I do often, change places a week or every 2 weeks, but I try to really reduce that. Like I try to be somewhere for at least a month. You still need a routine. You got to maintain your health. Like it's a long-term lifestyle. So, think about getting a therapist that will see you remotely. Like, how are you going to work out? All that stuff. Personally, I like to go geographically. Like, there's some nomads who like bop all over the world. I'm like, no, I'm in Latin America. I'm literally going like country by country or like direct flight by direct flight. It keeps travel days shorter. I get to get a deeper understanding of the region. Like, I love it. Remember, you're not going to be sightseeing all the time. Like, it's okay to have days where you're just Netflix and chilling, You need those days too. You're gonna find your balance. For me, I love co-living. I love Wi-Fi Tribe. Doing those things is great, but it also takes a lot of energy and I need some time by myself afterwards to kind of like recover. So as you do it, you'll sort of learn like, when do I get lonely? When do I need people? Do I want to be in co-living all the time? Do I want to be on my own all the time? Do I want to mix it up? Because community really is critical. And so I definitely recommend being a part of different communities, both online and offline as a nomad. And these are really easy to find. Like on my website, I have a whole thing about, what communities, how to find nomad communities and what are some of my favorites. They are great. Okay, whew, that was a lot. That was everything I had for you guys. And I know I didn't answer all the questions you guys put in the chat in the beginning. So let me first take a quick minute. I want to show you guys a couple of links on the website that will answer your questions. And then let's actually talk about some of your questions that you guys put in the chat. So this is my website, judakatravels.com. On this tab, Digital Nomad Life, you'll find how to become a digital nomad, where I also talk about entrepreneurship. If you want to start your own business, that good stuff. And becoming your own boss, right? A couple of you are interested in that. So that is what I do in my other business, Dudaka Strategic. So if anyone is looking to start their own business, make sure you check that out. Financial-ish. I think this is worth going into. So health and travel insurance, I have my full review for travel insurance here. I use Safety Wing. I've got a referral code on there, which I think gives you guys a discount as well. I think I pay like $79 a month, and that I opted for the highest coverage, like the adventure travel coverage, because I'm always doing crazy adventure activities. Bank accounts, you guys said it in the chat. I love my Charles Schwab high yield investor checking. I think Revolut might be open to Americans now, so check that out. I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve is great. Like if not the preferred, if you don't want to pay the fee, but the fee is worth it. Transferring dollars, you are going to want to get Wise. It is the cheapest way to basically to transfer cash with a non-American if you don't have Revolut. Taxes, these people are out of business now, so message me and I will send you who I'm using now for my taxes. I also use Splitwise a lot because it is really easy to track and split expenses as a group. A few other things I want to show you. Where to work and stay. Yes. So this is my list of all of my favorite co-lives around the world that I've stayed at. For each of these, I have a full review, and for almost all of them, I have a referral code that will get you a discount. So make sure you check those out. This is spelled wrong. That's outside, actually. They're global. What else did I want to show you guys? My packing list is on here. So I break down literally all the stuff I have. I have a lot of medical stuff. Like you want to think about like all the things you're gonna need, makeup. Like you got to pare it down to the essentials though. Online nomad communities, some nomad inspiration and people I like to follow. And then nomad responsibly. So like things I suggest that you do to not be a jerk as you're being a nomad. And then on my blog, you'll find just a lot of reviews of different co-living spaces. I've got a digital nomad guide to Barcelona that's new. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm working on building it out. So if you guys have more questions, definitely let me know. I think those are the main things I wanted to share with you guys. And now I would love to answer any questions that you guys have because I know I didn't answer all of them.
Okay. First of all, that was amazing. I know you inspired me, so hopefully you inspired everyone else, which I'm sure. I feel like everyone wants to pack their bags right now and just go. So, fantastic. I took some of the questions from before, but then if you want to drop them into the chat, we can get some more answered. But the first thing I wanted to ask was, how do you basically start and choose where you want to go for your first destination? Do you have any recommendations on that?
Yeah, such a good question. So for you guys, I mean, I would think about, okay, a few things I would think about. I would honestly think about where you really want to go, where you think you're going to be comfortable and happy, and where has like direct, affordable flights. Like those are the three things I would really think about. Or if you're like, I'm nervous, I don't want to go out on my own, like go pick a co-live, go join Wi-Fi Tribe, go do a chapter with them. And that can be your first experience and meeting other digital nomads and doing it together. And that makes it a lot less intimidating. So I think that's a really good place to get started.
Okay, perfect. Um, and then, okay, well, we've got a couple questions around this. So, like the easy, do you recommend any particular easy place to kind of start off, or in your experience that you felt was maybe, the most accommodating?
I think that really is going to depend on your personal comfort. Like, for example, I'm Latina and I speak Spanish, so I'm very at home in Latin America. But I think it's going to be very different depending on who you are. Maybe going to rural Africa is not your best bet for your first nomad trip, right? But
Right.
think about, what you need to feel comfortable. Like, where do you speak the language? Did you maybe study abroad there? Like, I think this goes hand in hand with like solo travel, right? Like, what are the things you're nervous about, and then think about how you can counteract those things and make yourself feel more comfortable and more secure.
Okay, perfect. What about, I know this was an early question about actually finding the remote work. If I'm assuming maybe you have a list, or I don't know if you have any suggestions on different opportunities for folks.
I I don't have a list actually. I will work on that, I guess. Clearly it's a question people have, so I will work on making you guys a list. I know there are definitely remote job boards out there. I don't personally have a list handy, so I'm sorry about that, you guys. I will work on that.
Oh, no, that's fine. But that's great to know. Like you mentioned before, that there's so many different resources online too with community groups. So I'm sure just joining some of those and asking, what different things people have done, which is also really good. I'm curious, how far in advance do you normally plan where you're going to go next? I know you mentioned you're, normally a month at each location, or what would
So
you recommend to others?
guys, back in the day, back in 2019, I had nothing planned in advance and I loved it. I honestly really miss those days because it is so fun to go somewhere, meet people, make friends with them, and then you all go to the next place together. You're like, oh, what's the plan? What's the vibe? Where are we going next? And then you just all go together. It's amazing. Right now, I have almost all of this year planned out. And that is just because of how my life works now. I mean, a lot of times good co-livings book up fast. Um, and also just like things sort of slot into place. And then you're like, okay, well, what makes the most sense between these two things? So tomorrow I'm going from Cape Town to Amsterdam, direct flight. And I'm in Amsterdam for a month, meeting up with some friends that I met at Chateau Co-Living and celebrating King's Day with a bunch of Wi-Fi tribe friends. Then after that month, I go to Barcelona for 2 weeks. I'm meeting a bunch of friends there. And then I'm going to Bulgaria for 2 weeks, doing a retreat with my team for my business. One of them is Bulgarian. And then after that, I'm going to Italy for 2 weeks, meeting up with an Italian friend and taking a little Italian vacay, and also doing a birthday party for another Nomad friend. Then after that, I'm going to Prague for 1 month with Wi-Fi Tribe. Then after that, I'm going to Austria for 3 weeks with my mom. Then TBD, I have a little space to play with. Then I know I'm going back to the US in October. Actually, I might go speak at a conference in Kansas. And then I'm going back to DC to see all my friends and family, go to a wedding in Baltimore, and then I'm going to Mexico City for a month. And then TBD, I might be doing a fellowship in Peru. So almost all of this year is planned out.
That is incredible. And I'm so impressed you have that all memorized too, in order. That's a lot of places.
I literally booked like 3 flights last night.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know. Right there, that sold me. I want to do this because just everywhere you mentioned is incredible. So that was also one of my other questions. How often do you plan to come back to the US? Do you go like once a year or?
I don't have a particular plan. I haven't been back since May of 2023 for my father's funeral.
Mhm.
And I've been back a few times for unexpected reasons, like I tore my ACL and I had to get ACL surgery, and that rehab was no joke.
Mhm.
I was non-weight bearing for a month, and so I stayed with my mom for a bunch of months. So I don't have a particular plan. Some people always go back for holidays. Gotta save time for weddings. I will say, like, I mean, for me, a lot of my friends are spread out. So even though I have a lot of friends in DC, I have a lot of friends all over the country. And I don't think I see them less now than when I was physically in the US. I mean, maybe I would see them a little bit more, but they meet me, I meet them. Like, I threw a birthday party last year in Greece and like 12 people came, and half of them came from the US, and they like got childcare for their kids. It was amazing. So like, I don't know, I'm rambling now.
No, it's perfect. This is great to just hear about all the different aspects of it. So it's wonderful. Okay, we've got a lot more questions coming through, so I'm gonna just start with some of these. So how do you manage the slow months of your business while the traveling costs start to pile up? Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, this is a big thing I cover as a business coach is how to get consistent revenue, how to make sure like you have a good financial plan, how to make sure you have a business model that supports what you're doing. I mean, I make twice as much money now as I did when I had a corporate job, and I work about half the time. And I have a really good chunk of savings. Like it's really important to have a lot of savings as a business owner to get you through any of those slow times. So those are the biggest things that I recommend. Um, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. We had another question. Someone answered it too, but let's see if there's other options. But in terms of dealing with physical mail when you're traveling, if you don't have like your parents' home or an address, would you recommend a PO box or any other
There
suggestion?
are some services, I don't know what they are, but you can search for them. There are services you can pay that will accept your mail, and they have like different levels of service. Like I have friends who do this. They'll open your mail for you, they'll scan it for you, like they'll send you scans of like what's inside your mail, which honestly is really important. Like sometimes you don't realize what's coming to you in the mail. And then, sometimes my mom will send me an email and I'm like, oh shoot, like didn't know about that. So you think everything is online, but it is not. You do need a physical address. So if you don't have a friend who can do this for you or a relative, get one of these paid services that will open the mail for you and send it to you.
Okay, perfect. That's a great tip. Okay, Jennifer had a question on which state or country is it most beneficial tax-wise to open a business in?
I am not a tax advisor, so I would recommend you consult with a tax advisor. I can tell you, like, just from anecdotal evidence, like, I know some people do South Dakota, some people do Florida, some people do Puerto Rico. For me personally, I'm very happy to have my business in Maryland, where my mom has her home. And I can just keep everything simple and keep it there. I'm happy to pay taxes to the state of Maryland where I grew up. For me, the biggest factor isn't how little can I pay in taxes. It's what is going to make my life the easiest, because like my mom gets all that mail and she can send it to me and it's just easy.
Right. Okay, perfect. Someone did mention, I think this is great, just a good idea for your blog to talk about traveling with your knee pain. So maybe a good post about that.
Oh man, I mean, you guys, that was such a struggle because okay, so I actually had two ACL, so I've actually had two ACL surgeries. One was in 2015, and then I tore it again. So both times skiing, so I'm never skiing again. 6 years later, I tore it again skiing in Switzerland on the Swiss Alps. It was my first day at a co-live called Swiss Escape, which I love, and everyone was so nice to me. Um, but it was quite the thing. Like I wanted to go back and see my same US surgeon. I was very lucky. It happened right before the open enrollment period. I got US health insurance. I went to see my surgeon. He did the surgery, and I went to see my old physical therapist who I'd worked with for my prior knee surgery. And I was lucky enough that it was during COVID and he was willing to do remote work with me. So I would like literally Skype him from Colombia, like rural Colombia, and he would like work with me online to help me do the physical therapy to like get better. Um, but it was a process because it's difficult everywhere you go, new, like trying to find a good qualified physical therapist. Um, it's not easy. So that was definitely like a challenge.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds, yeah, no skiing. Lay off that. Be careful.
Or skiing for me.
Yeah. Okay. Monica had a question on, do you use particular search apps for your flights, especially since you're flying so much?
Yeah, I honestly mostly use Google Flights. And for me personally, I usually know the date that I'm gonna fly. Um, but I will also like I'll tweak it a little bit. Like you'll look at the price graph and you're like, oh, well, it's $500 cheaper to go on Wednesday instead of Thursday. Let's do that.
Mhm.
But typically my schedule isn't crazy. I will say, okay, no, for example, though, like the explore feature where you can see like you can like in Google Flights, you can literally be like, I've done this before where I was like, okay, I need to go from Mexico City to Europe. Where is the cheapest direct flight from Mexico City to Europe? Let's go there. because I knew I needed to go to Greece for a Wi-Fi tribe chapter. And I was like, okay, I have this month to kill between Greece and Mexico. Where should I spend this month? Oh, there's a direct flight from Mexico City to Rome that's super cheap. And then there's a cool co-live in Sicily that I'm going to go do. And then, oh my God, I've dreamed of going to the Amalfi Coast. Like, let's do that. And then, oh my God, I can end right at the Naples airport. And there's a direct flight from the Naples airport to where I'm going in Greece. So I sort of like, it's like a fun little puzzle for me. I would say that like I do look for like cheap flights and stuff, but I'm not like a cheap flight hunter. Like I don't get all the newsletters and I'm not like that's not the biggest factor for me. I keep it cheap by like staying regional, going geographically. Like I'm doing a bunch of train travel in Europe this year, and staying in places for longer as opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna get the cheapest flight from like, you know, the cheapest 30-hour flight I can get. I don't want to do a 30-hour flight. I want to keep my travel days as short and chill as possible.
Right. Yeah, very true. I love Google Flights, that explore feature that you mentioned. It's amazing. And you're right. And then once you get to Europe, they have all the different train or cheap flights all over the place. So yeah, you're doing it right. And then you get to see a new place if you hadn't originally planned that. Um, I was just curious about when you're obviously working, you're working and you're traveling and you're seeing these new locations. How do you balance your time in terms of exploring, but also getting your work done?
Yeah, such a good question. I mean, it is tough, and I'd say it's a balance, right? Everything is a balance. I have times where work is a little bit more chill and I'm going to adventure more, and I have times where work is a little bit more intense and I'm going to focus on work a little bit more. And for me, that's totally okay because that's how I support this amazing lifestyle that I have. Like, I absolutely love my business. I love my clients. I love being an entrepreneur. And so, when I was in Asia, at one point I had a weekly 5 a.m. call. And that was rough, but it was like, it was fine. And I was so happy to do it. Like here in South Africa right now, I have like the whole day or morning to myself if I want it. I have a few calls in the evening with my US based clients. And I also prefer to work during the day. So I'll usually plan out my day depending on what calls I have and what work I need to get done. And also and how much I want to do the fun activities that people are doing. So I'll sort of weight it depending on like how much do I want to do the stuff because a lot of times I'm in a group, I'm with friends, I'm in part of a community and there's cool things going on all the time. So I'll sort of weigh each thing as it comes up. So like just to give you an example, today I started the day, I had CrossFit. I did a bunch of work. I met up with a friend. Um, I did a coaching call for one of my one-on-one private clients. We're doing this webinar, and then right after this, I'm going to like a barbecue. So it's always a balance, but I would say I do a ton of fun stuff and I do a lot of great work. And like for me, it's fun to have that variety and like figure out what is the puzzle for this week of like what is going to be the most fun and also what do I need to get done. Because there's always an infinite amount of work you can do when you are your own boss. So it's deciding, okay, but let's also go have a life and like let's also go have fun and like here's all the fun things we're gonna do too.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's important. You've got that down, it sounds like. So have fun at the barbecue. That's amazing. Okay, another question. What is next in the world travel, your kind of wealth building journey? And then to tag onto that, have you ever planned on owning real estate abroad? Because I know that's a bit of a hot topic for some folks looking to move. Yeah.
Next in the world travel slash wealth building journey. I'm not sure how to interpret that question, but for now, I'm going to keep traveling the world and I'm going to keep building my wealth. And ever plan on owning real estate abroad? I don't know. I mean, who knows what the world holds? I'm not currently planning on buying real estate. Um, I sometimes I sometimes sort of pipe dream about opening a co-live or maybe buying a place in DC and renting it out when I'm not there. But whenever I talk to people who have a co-live or who are managing properties, it just sounds like something I don't necessarily want to do. So I think I like the idea of it more than actually doing it. So for now, I'm going to focus on building my wealth outside of real estate.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you've been doing great so far and being able to travel and live your life as you wanted. So you're doing it right for sure. Um, Okay, I think this is a good question. And then we have time for just probably a few more questions. So if anyone else has them, definitely drop them in the chat. But do you ever feel like you've missed out on like the US clients or relationships by living abroad or, by doing everything virtual and through social medias? Do you feel like that's enough to sustain your business?
I think that's a really great question. It's been very successful for me through now, but I do think especially now after COVID, we're seeing a real trend of people returning to really preferring things in person. And I mean, I also love building relationships in person. I do get, clients through my in-person relationship building. I speak at a lot of conferences in person. Like I just spoke at Nomad Week in South Africa. Um, so I do think that is really valuable. And I think there's always pros and cons, right? And I think one of the things that I miss about being in person in a community over a long period of time is really being able to invest in that community and like build those relationships in a physical location. And go out with the same group of friends every single week. I'm always changing countries, making new friends. But then what's cool is that when you meet up with those friends in a new country and you can build your relationship over time, like the Nomad community is not actually that large. And especially if you join something like Wi-Fi Tribe, like you'll see the same people over and over again, and it's easy to deepen those relationships. But I definitely do miss having that in-person community in one place.
Right. Okay. And then I was just curious in terms of other digital nomads, do you feel like, most of them are Americans, or do you feel like you're meeting digital nomads from all different countries? Just curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Let me actually pull up there some really good statistics. Most digital nomads are American. Oh, it's not here right where I thought it was, but if you look at the statistics, the majority of digital nomads are American, and then I think the other top ones are like US, UK, Canada, Europe.
Mhm.
A lot of that is going to be socioeconomic, right? Unfortunately, and also like we have a lot of passport privilege in the US. For now, we'll see how long that lasts. But use that passport while you can, kids. Get dual citizenship while you can. I actually also have dual Austrian citizenship, so that is really nice. But I forget what else I was gonna say, actually.
Just in terms of, no, that makes sense. Just in terms of if there's a variety of digital nomads from all over, which sounds like most of them from those countries, but
Yeah,
obviously you're meeting a variety of people.
it's going to be weighted socioeconomically. I have met digital nomads from all over for sure. And just be aware that when you're meeting someone from, Asia or Africa, like or Latin America, they have to work like 5 times as hard as you to achieve this lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Okay, I know you mentioned, you speak Spanish, so it's been obviously a little bit easier for you in Spanish-speaking countries. So for anyone that doesn't, you know, know another language, how important do you think that is to know the local language? And do you find a lot of others that might speak English in these destinations you've been to?
Yeah, I mean, I think globally, English is the sort of lingua franca, right? Like with most places, you can get by with English. I always make an effort to learn the local language, even if it's literally just being able to say, hello and thank you. Like, I think it's really important. You know, I'll try it when I'm in a place where I don't speak the language. I will do Duolingo. I made this rule for myself. I'll do Duolingo. I will listen to the top 100 from that country, and I will read a book about that country because I think it's really important to learn about the culture, and learning the language is a great way to do that. There's a lot of digital nomads who will take local language lessons, which is amazing. They'll get a tutor, they'll do it online, especially if you're going to be in a country for a long period of time. That is such a great thing to do, and it will help you so much. I mean, not just in terms of like, I think logistically you can get by without it, but the point of being a digital nomad is to go explore these amazing places and get to know the culture and have like a really cool experience. And the very best way to do that is by learning the language and showing respect for the culture.
Okay, perfect. I love that. Okay, couple more questions. This is great, by the way. Thank you so much for answering all these, and everyone, thank you for your questions as well. This is exactly what
Yeah.
this is for, so I love it. So how do you manage costs while traveling in Africa? Because it's probably not as cheap as, country hopping from Europe to Europe location. So I know you mentioned you were pretty good about saving ahead of time, but do you have any advice for anyone in terms of traveling to maybe more expensive countries?
I mean, do your research, right? Budget beforehand, like set your budget and then plan for that budget, right? in Africa, let's see, I went from Romania to Kenya. I did a month-long co-live in Lamu Island with African nomads, and then I did 10 days in Nairobi. Both of those I would say were quite affordable for me by my standards. Everyone's standards are going to be different. Nairobi in particular, like I got a super cute, super affordable place. Um, then I got a direct flight from Nairobi to South Africa. I spent a month at Cape Colive, which for Cape Town is affordable in summer. Cape Town prices are quite expensive in the summer because everyone is coming here. All the digital nomads, all the tourists, everybody wants to be in Cape Town. So housing is going to be super expensive. But then once you're here, most of the other costs are going to be affordable. So, I mean, the biggest costs you're going to have to plan for as a nomad are going to be flights and lodging. So look online, see what you're happy with, see what you can afford, and then plan your budget around that, right? All of this stuff you can get a sense of beforehand. And if you check out my website, like I recommend some nomad communities like Nomad List, for example, they will have on, if you're a member, you can see like they have estimates for like each almost every place in the world. They'll give you a budget estimate like for that place. So you can go check it out in advance and you can think about, is it feasible for me to stay there long term? And the other thing I'll say is that I think being a nomad is a very affordable way to see the world. I think you can stay somewhere for like oftentimes with lodging is going to be your biggest expense. And typically you can get the same price lodging for 1 month as you would get for 1 week. So for me, it's like I'd rather stay there for a month, and get a short, connection somewhere else. It's like you're not spending for me, I'm not spending more money than I would be spending if I lived in the US. In fact, I'm spending less.
Right, exactly. Okay, last question. Are you seeing a rise in more nomad or expat communities in Africa?
I mean, this is my first time in Africa as a nomad. I have traveled in Africa previously as not a digital nomad, but this is the first time I've been in Africa as a digital nomad, so I couldn't really compare it. I will say I think we're seeing a rise in digital communities everywhere. With COVID, with the popularization of like it's literally pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, you really had to work your ass off to be a digital nomad. Like it was very non-traditional path, very hard to achieve. And so you got a certain type of person. Like the people I met pre-COVID are a different breed than the people you meet now. And that's not to say anything. It's just more people, way more people are able to travel and work remotely now than they were before COVID. Before COVID, it was really like you had to really be unconventional, alternative, like out there. People thought you were crazy. Now it's like, oh, this is pretty normal. Pretty much anyone can do it. So you get a much wider variety of people, and you also have a much higher quantity of people. So there's just more digital nomads everywhere.
Yeah, it's fascinating just how quick it changed just over the past couple of years. It's amazing. I mean, and you're obviously seeing it firsthand, but it's good to know. I keep saying one last question and then we keep having more. So I'll just do this last one. And then if anyone else, I've sent your information so you can always, everyone on the call, you can reach out to Tasha directly if you have specific questions after this. But last one, do you have tips for picking lodging for a month, where to look just in case you end up getting locked into somewhere that maybe doesn't work out so great?
Yeah. Pick one of the places on my where to work and travel page. You are going to have your best bets at a place that's set up for digital nomads, right? So the places on that page are all places I have personally stayed at and have personally reviewed, and you can read those reviews. If you're choosing something from like booking.com or Airbnb or a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, there's a lot more things you want to be careful for. Obviously, always read reviews. When I'm reading reviews, I will always search for the word internet and Wi-Fi. And I will see if the person was like, oh, the internet was really good. I had no problem remote working. Or they'll be like, wow, the internet sucked. The internet didn't work. I will often message the property and ask for a screenshot of an internet speed test, or for them to send me how many megabytes upload and download speed is, because for me, that's the whole point. If I'm a digital nomad, I literally the only thing I need is Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, I cannot stay with you. I need good Wi-Fi. It's literally the only thing that I need. And electricity to make the Wi-Fi work. So for me, that is very much the most important factor. I see this question is like, I'm worried about being locked in for a month as well. Obviously read the reviews. I think it's like another thing you can do, and I used to do this a bit more. I don't do this anymore. Is like you can show up to a place, you can book a place for like a couple days for a week, and then you can scope out the place and you can go see, oh, what neighborhood do I really want to stay in? Like, and if you're going somewhere for long term, like maybe do this, what neighborhood do I want to stay in? Where do I feel comfortable? Where do I feel most at home? What gym do I want to go to? And then choose your place based on that. Plus, if you're in person, sometimes you can get good deals, you can negotiate. Like you can usually get good deals really early or really, really late and last minute. And I think it's kind of like you win both ways and you lose both ways. I think it's like when you book in advance, you often get cheaper deals and you have a lot more choice. And where I'm staying, like the place I'm in, is very important to me. I'm going to spend a lot of time there. I want to feel at home there. I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel happy. I want a lot of natural light, and I want it in a good location. I want it close to restaurants and grocery stores and a gym. And all of that stuff I can find out online beforehand. And you can usually get a feel and a vibe by like reading the reviews and messaging the host and seeing how they react, and seeing if they're nice or seeing if they don't care. So you can usually figure that stuff out in advance. I pretty much book everything in advance now. Um, but I do have friends who are much more last minute. Sometimes they get deals, sometimes they pay like a lot more. So it really more depends on your personality and your style. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, those were fantastic tips. I would have, some of those I wouldn't have even thought of, which is really, that's super helpful to look for that. And kind of along those lines, Jim was asking, do you prefer big cities or maybe smaller rural towns? And I wonder if the Wi-Fi is different in those locations as well.
The Wi-Fi is different all over the world. Never assume Wi-Fi is going to be good. Always ask about the Wi-Fi. For me personally, my absolute favorite is if I can get like a sort of small to medium-ish size town slash city that's like really cool and really cute and right in nature, but also has everything you would want or need. Like it has a really nice gym, it has really great restaurants, it has a lot of stuff to do. And for me, those are like my favorite places. Like I'm not a huge big city person. Like I like the conveniences of a city, but I really love nature and that makes me feel really happy. But really, I love everything, and that's why I'm a digital nomad, and that's why I'm constantly changing locations because I can go have like a little rural retreat, and then I can go and stay in the city and like get my hit of like city life. So that's the best thing about being a digital nomad is you don't have to choose. You can always like you're like, oh, oops, this was too much of this. Like, let's go do something else.
Right, exactly. Oh, amazing. Okay, thank you. All of, your answers were spot on. I know you've helped so many people on this call, hopefully start planning their digital nomad life. And again, as I mentioned, I dropped your information. So definitely everyone follow Tasha on all of her social channels and follow and look at your blog too, because it sounds like you have so many incredible information on that. I'm going to share my screen just one more time. Um, and then just with a couple things that are coming up for us with our upcoming events. Every month we have our happy hours. Our next one is on the 24th of April. These are more informal where you just get to meet other travelers and just get to know. It's more like it's a happy hour. So that's always a fun thing if you have that time to join for that. And then on May 8th, we are talking about Morocco, which would be really fun. And then in May, we have our next community virtual happy hour. So definitely you can always check out our link on our website on events just to see what we have coming up. And obviously, you know how to do that since you're here today. And then, as I mentioned, we have our upcoming community tour. So we have Greece in September, Peru in October, and then Morocco in November. And then I'm sure we'll be sending out our options, our tours in 2026. So look for those. And then again, thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate all the questions and your support for Tasha and Tasha. Can't wait to see all of your adventures. I know you have probably, it sounded like 20 different places you're going in the next couple of months. So it'll be fun to follow along for you. And then again, we will share this recording out as well. So everyone can, if you missed anything, feel free to join onto that later too as well. But thank you everyone and have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, as everyone was all around the world.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks so much for everything you guys do at the Nomadic Network. And I was also going to say, if you're afraid of taking the plunge, go do a trip with the Nomadic Network, get your feet wet, right? Like try it out. So thank you guys so much for having me. It was great to see you all.
Thank you. Have fun at your barbecue.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone.